Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Kollman, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. Keep rocking loud and proud.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Jeff Kollman of the Alan Parsons Live Project.
Also Chad Smith's Bombastic Meatheads. He's promoting his newest solo endeavor, East of Heaven.
Yeah, instrumental album. He's also got the Jeff Kollman band where he sings.
Guitar shredder.
Yes.
That's what he is.
And
the new Alan Parsons solo album, From the New World. Let's get to this interview.
Good night.
Good night. Jeff, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
hey, thanks for joining us tonight, Jeff.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think we're almost neighbors here. I'm partially in the Midwest part of the time, so.
Oh, very good. Well, quick story. So when I went to go see you performing with the Alan Parsons Project over in Davenport, Iowa last spring, I was with my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law punched me in my arm. He goes, "You got to get that guitarist, that lead guitarist on the podcast. I mean, you got to get him on." So, heaven behold, I contacted you, and so you're on the podcast now.
Here we are.
Absolutely. So, back in May of 2021, you released your 6th solo album, East of Heaven. Can you talk a little bit more about the writing and recording process for this instrumental album?
Yeah, we were on the full-on COVID lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, like every other artist, our tour stopped. We were pretty much booked between Alan Parsons and this Japanese tour I do and a few other things. I was probably booked for 16 months straight.
Oh, wow.
And right out of 2019, which was one of the busiest years I think I had, suddenly, in March 2020, we're like, okay, that's it. Nothing's going on. So I started recording a record. And, the tricky thing is that we were all on lockdown, so you couldn't really hang with your buddies.
Right.
This new virus is out. And so that was a bit tricky. So everything was kind of piecemealed, meaning like I would write the tune and the arrangement and then decide, okay, who's playing on it. And usually I call Shane Gallus to play drums. So he's got a great studio, and, he and I have been recording records for 25 years together. So I don't have to tell him much of what I need. It's usually one recall and, hey, maybe try it a little more like this or...
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of piecemealed together that way. And there's not a lot of like guests on there. Shane and my buddy Jono was on drums on a couple songs. There's one bass player for one tune. And this cat, Guy Ellison. My brain's fried. Too much time off. Guy Ellison on keys. Fantastic keyboard player and has been around for a long time playing and did 20 years with the Doobie Brothers and that sort of thing.
Nice.
So, I got like 4 or 5 songs in and realized I was making a record. And, and then you start to think about, okay, I need it to be cohesive. That's a big thing with me and the record flowing and, has to have some kind of cohesiveness to it. Like if you're, I don't know, movie soundtrack or I don't know what.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But it's odd when you hear like, a record or even an instrumental record and it's just like the randomly trying stuff. Oh, this is my country song. It's like you're not a country guitar player. So, those kind of things are a little odd.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've spoke to many artists over the last 2 years, and they've found that within themselves during the pandemic, during the downtime, they really felt like their songwriting had a renaissance of creativity. Something maybe it sparked something new with their songwriting and even playing. How did it work for you? Do you kind of feel the same way, or do you just felt like you were the same artist during the pandemic that you were before?
Yeah, I think so. But I think in general, as I get older, I take a bit more time and I'm more patient with revisiting an arrangement and thinking about like, okay, is the song structure the way I want it? The tones, the colors and the textures. If it's better and growing and different, I wouldn't say it would have anything to do with the pandemic, really. I just think generally my writing is getting better as I get older, more mature. When you're younger, you throw down a riff, you're like, it's fucking great. Let's go with it, And that's cool too. But it's a little more methodical and I think more seasoned, and more subtleties and dynamics and this sort of thing,
Oh, very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the song. Can you talk a little about Superstring Theory?
Yeah. What was your question? We have
just a little bit about your inspiration for that song.
Interesting enough, when I started writing that's probably the simplest instrumental I've ever written, seemingly, just AC/DC groove.
Yeah.
There's no big bridge. There's no like all these sections. It's just a couple of sections, but there's a lot of layers of guitars and I remember going to play it live and it took 3 guitars to pull it off live and my buddy Alex Garcia said to me, he goes, I can really appreciate this song live. There's a lot more going on than I realized, but with that one, I thought, man, I just really want to keep this. It's like when you hear the essence of AC/DC, and I would never compare anything I do to AC/DC, the greatness of them, but the simplicity and the pure drive that they have, is something I was kind of going for when I started playing it, just raw, simple rock rhythm. And so I kind of showed restraint, not, I need this bridge section, I need to go here, I need to go there, because all my songs do that. It ends up being like all these sections, and, if you listen to Cosmosquad, it's like, fuck, man. Some people, it's just too much for them, So, there's, and I've had people that are fans like, I love that song, I played it over and over. I saw some reviews, people like, this is horrible. This song fucking sucks. Like, whatever, they just heard it, the simplicity made turn them off. It's like, okay, well, that's cool. This is the worst song ever.
When you write your songs, do you approach it with the idea of playing them live, or do you work out all the chops later?
I work it out. Yeah, I work it out later. I don't worry so much about that.
Oh.
But there's definitely tunes where it's like, it's nice to have an extra guitar player or keyboard player play the chord changes underneath. You know, I like a bass part. Maybe it's just staying on A, but the chords are implying an F major 7, G, maybe it's a C major 7, then A. But the bass is just stagnant on one note, ostinato as they call it. And then the harmony is outlining the changes that are happening underneath. And, you know, I'm just one guy, so, you know, Eric Johnson would be a great example of a guitar player that seems to pull that off in a trio setting, but it's really difficult, you know, apply the chord changes and have the melody and, you know.
Yes. Well, you know, with you releasing East of Heaven right in the middle of the pandemic in May of 2021, did you have any reservations releasing the album during the COVID-19 lockdown, or was your mindset, hey, yes, there's no doubt about it, we're not going to wait around, we're releasing it right in the middle of COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing was done. It was basically in the can. I remember buying a house in the Midwest in July of 2020, and I literally played my last guitar solo as I'm packing boxes like 2 days before we moved. So it was already in the can by July of 2020, and then I just started messing around with the mixes when I moved and kind of had a makeshift studio in the new house. And it was interesting mixing a record on, I had little iLoud speakers. I mean, I was totally out of my element and of what I'm used to mixing in the California house.
Oh, very good.
Not having a deadline, I was kind of, you know, you can recall stuff for months. I think I could change this, add this, you know. And then I finally got it done, and my PR guy, so we gotta wait another 4 months, you know, because the PR, you know, machine. I was like, oh God, I want to release it now.
Yeah, so you know, you play acoustic and electric, and how many different guitars did you use for the album?
Off the top of my head, I would say probably like 15 different guitars.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
You know, from Les Paul to Hamer, Carina V to a Gibson V to a couple of Strats that I have. The Telly always makes it on the record. I think on Superstring Spirit Theory, I used the Les Paul Echo Below 18. There's Yari Alvarez, Kenny Hill. A lot of different guitars.
Oh, very good. You know, as you look at your body of work as a solo artist at this point, what album in your catalog is your favorite? And then what album do you feel as though maybe wasn't your best interpretation?
I really like the, you know, it's interesting because the groups that I have, like with the Bombastic Meatbats with Chad Smith or with a Cosmosquad, you know, you put on a little bit different mindset when you go into these records.
Yeah.
Versus solo stuff, but it kind of, there's more collaboration with, obviously, with the other band members versus solo. I would say, you know, I like the collaborative thing, and I really enjoy, like, riffing out in a room with Shane Gallus, and I would say Cosmosquad is probably the stuff I'm most proud of. You know, the last record we did, The Morbid Tango, I think it was 2017.
Nice.
So it's interesting because, you know, you say 6 solo records, is like, hey, why does it take you long to make a solo record? It's like, well, I've been doing these other records that are kind of solo records too. You know, in all there's probably 20.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know, not including stuff you're singing on. There's 4 Squad or 5 Cosmosquad records. There's like 3 Meatbats. There's, you know, 6 solo records. Then there's 2 JKB. It's, you know, me with a trio with vocals and a couple other things. So, but I would say, you know, with Shane, and we were born 2 days apart and just have similar backgrounds, and he really pushes me, and it's like no holes barred, you know, really going for it. And I think the music we've created is its kind of own entity, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember playing Morbid Tango for Steve Vai, and he got back to me, and he sent me this nice, beautiful long email, and he even had sections of the tunes. You know, okay, when you go here, it's 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It's like, wow, you know, this whole section. And I've never heard a tango done in this interpretation, and it was cool when guys like that really take the time to listen and give you a whole breakdown, and you know, you can tell they're excited about it.
Very much so.
You alluded to the JK band. You've got 2 albums. The last one was Empower Devour in 2011. Can you talk a little bit about that band and taking on you take on the lead vocals?
Yeah, you know, it's fun singing, but you know, I guess I don't pursue it more because I like a lot of singers. They get tired of their voice. I don't consider myself a singer.
Okay.
So to speak. And what I find is, like, as much as I enjoy it when I'm doing it, I kind of ignore the guitar playing a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't seem to, if I had to be critical about myself. It's like when you start getting into the singing and the vocals and the lyrics and melodies, the guitar solo is so, like, whatever. You just don't put any time and energy into it. So I listen back to those and I'm like, shit, I should redo them and shred all over these things, you know. But you know, I'm happy and proud of them, but it's a whole nother animal, you know.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Doing vocal stuff.
Very much so.
And what I see in the future is really like doing vocal records where it's kind of like what Alan Parsons does. He has different singers. You know, you write the song and choose the singer. Okay, maybe this song would be Glenn Hughes, Bill Mogg. Just calling all the guys I've known over the years.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to sing, like, you know, 3 songs, but after that, I'm tired of my voice. Next. And I get that way with a lot of singers on records, man.
Yeah.
Like Chris Cornell's like one of my all-time favorite singers, and after like 6 songs on a Soundgarden record, I kind of want to hear somebody else sing a little bit.
I get it.
Yeah.
This past July, Alan Parsons released his newest album, From the New World. This is, I believe, Alan's Parsons. It's his 6th solo album, excluding the project part of things.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about your contributions to this new album?
Yeah, so, let's see. I had co-written 2 songs. I think my buddy Mark Michael and I wrote 5 songs for the record. You know, we were kind of ambitious. We wanted to write a whole suite for Alan, like take up side A, you know.
Yeah.
And like Turn of a Friendly Card and what he used to do back then, and he listened to all 4 or 5 songs back to back, and then listened again. And, you know, some of it he caught on to right away. Some of it he didn't quite get. And then we ended up using 2 songs from that. One is called The Secret, which coincidentally is the name of the previous album. Kind of like Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, the name of the record. And then the next record comes out and there's a song called Houses of the Holy.
Exactly.
So, and then there was another one called Obstacles that we had done. Besides that, you know, there's contributions on, you know, most of the songs as we kind of work them up in the studio. Somebody will bring a song idea, and maybe the bass player Guy Arez is writing something with Alan, and then you know, the rest will also come in and chime in. And at that point, you're kind of like a session guy. You know, it's the same thing you do in any studio thing where you're working with a producer and a songwriter, and you're kind of building it up, and you come up with parts, and you know, you work it up as a group. But I remember, you know, he called us at the beginning of November and said, I want to have a record done by Christmas. And we were like, okay.
Oh, wow.
Let's start writing some songs. And you know what? We were only 2 weeks after that. I think he delivered it to the label by January 15th for mastering.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think it's a, you know, really valiant effort.
I was going to ask you about Obstacles. That is my favorite song on the album. I was hoping that you were the contributing artist to that song. But it also, that and Halos are my 2 favorite tracks on it. Yeah. And,
okay.
Are you a little bit...
Yeah, Halos is primarily P.J. Olson. You know, he's been singing with Alan for years. And I think he actually mixed that one. You know, he's a great mixing engineer in his own right.
Are you,
I think for the most part, Alan mixed the rest of the album.
Yeah.
Well, I could be off on that, but I think so. You have to read the liner notes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the inspiration for Obstacles? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
You know what? It's interesting because I've been working with this songwriter. He's just a genius writer, Mark Michael. And I brought him in. I had written the music on the previous record for a tune called Fly to Me.
Okay.
The tune is called Fly to Me, and that was co-written by Alan and Mark and myself. So that was from The Secret.
Okay.
And it was exciting because Mark has been writing songs, since I was, long before I knew him, when I was 16 years old when I met him. And he's kind of like a Jeff Lynne. He does it all, plays all the instruments, producer, singer, songwriter, but, always resided in Toledo, Ohio. And so it's been just a joy to bring him in with Alan as an additional writer and get him involved in this project. So
fantastic.
Anyway, I brought in Mark to write the lyric. Alan and him really hit it off on a different level, and he really loved Mark as a lyricist, and he had a kind of a John Lennon quality about his voice that he really dug. So, and his lyrics are brilliant as equivalent of like a John Lennon lyric, like Strawberry Fields or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And so Mark had come over to the house, and we started putting together some tunes, and he had the chord changes together for Obstacles, and we were working out, some ideas and changes in the bridge. But Mark is the primary lyricist on that tune, and it's just brilliant lyrics.
It truly is. It truly is.
Yeah, when people dig in, they'll really appreciate, what he does.
Absolutely.
And he uses lyric like I remember Alan saying, he's superfluous on the previous album, and he's like, I've never heard that in a song. He just loved that, But I'll tell you, it's a real pleasure writing and recording and playing with Alan. He's just a beautiful soul and wonderful human being.
Jeff, you got the next question?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask you a little about, you've also been involved with 2 live albums with Alan Parsons, the One Note Symphony live in Tel Aviv and the Never Ending Show live in the Netherlands. Can you talk a little bit about, not necessarily those shows, but just a little bit about the live album recording process?
Yeah, it was so exciting because the Israeli Philharmonic is one of the top 5 symphonies, arguably, in the world. And we went in there and we were playing, Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is the opening track off of The Secret, which is quite a undertaking, for us to play with the orchestra. And I remember barely playing it at soundcheck, thinking, man, we're going to record this live, we get one shot, and Alan has the ukulele, and it was really exciting to do, that whole thing. And hats off to his keyboard player, Tom Brooks, who was the conductor of the orchestra that night.
Nice.
I think we did 2 nights, and then either chose the best from either night, or we were only able to use from one night. I'm not sure, but I was really happy with the way that turned out. It's just amazing to record with the orchestra.
Very
and
cool.
then playing the show in the Netherlands, man, I remember the energy of the crowd was just fantastic on these balconies, and that just right there, and felt more like a rock show, and fantastic energy over there. And I remember playing Eddie Van Halen's hometown and buying this bitchin', $400 red leather jacket from where he lived, and it's so great,
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
So many memories from touring around the world, so it's been fantastic.
Well, I kind of wanted to elaborate on your work as a producer, and obviously there's no secret that Alan Parsons is a producer. How do you kind of compare and contrast, maybe how working with Alan in the producing aspect of things instead of maybe the musician aspect of things?
You mean, how do I view him as a producer versus the way I would do it, or just interacting with him as a producer? Or?
Yeah, but more of the interactions. Is it some of those kind of things that, the guy's been around for a long time? did you learn some things from him, or is it just kind of one of those things where it's you do what you do, he does what he does? How does it work between the two of you? And when it comes to producing,
you know what, he's Alan's really open to ideas. Some producers are really, I would say, control freaks, and he's really open to trying things, and it's a very relaxed environment. And yeah, I learned so many things off of Alan. You know, he teach me about his techniques with vari speed and double tracking guitar solos, which I never do, and pull them slightly out of tune to get a certain sound, or double tracking the guitar and using a very tuned thing. And but there's so many techniques that he's taught me in the studio, and he's open to talk about any of it. So I'm just like a little kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
All excited.
Oh, very good.
But I was really impressed how little he uses compression in the studio. He relies more on just getting the mic and the source and not overdoing it with the EQ, and, really about choosing the right mic on the instrument and mic placement and, space with everything. And, yeah, it's amazing.
Oh,
nice.
So cool.
Kind of alluded a little bit earlier to Glenn Hughes, and when I was doing some digging on your backstory, I came across I'm a big, huge Glenn Hughes fan, so I came across that you were part of 2003's Songs in the Key of Rock. Do you have any stories from those days?
Let's see. I'll tell you, man, working with Glenn, he's such a beast of a singer.
Yeah.
And he works so fast. I remember him, he would come to my house every day, and he would drive up from where he lives in, South Bay, and he'd say, "Hey, Jeff, we're gonna track these 3 vocals, then we're gonna go get some fixins at the." You'd find a restaurant in Northridge or somewhere, and once he likes a place, that's what he's really focused on. Is okay, we're gonna knock these out and go there, and I'm like. It seemed like we were in the studio for 2 hours, and he'd sang 3 songs and just killing it. And then, sure enough, 1 p.m. we're off to eat. And I'm like, normally it's with most singers, you're 10-hour day. And
yeah.
Auto tune, or I'll fix it when they leave, or who knows? It depends on the singer. But I've been fortunate to work with, singers that don't rely on that sort of thing. But yeah, Glenn works so fast and super funny, and he always has, so many ideas, and you're keeping up to even co-write with him. He just comes in and, we did one with Joe and Turner, Hughes Turner Project right after that. And Joe primarily just came in and sang his vocal. Glenn was, co-producing, and he would write so much even for Joe. And, Glenn is just as he's driving over your house, he's writing songs, he's just really prolific. So and playing with him live is beyond. It's so fun doing his solo stuff and mixing some Deep Purple stuff in there. And, I like to sing a bit of harmony, so it's fun with him to sing with him. And he and I, he's been in my life every couple of years. He calls me and we do something together. And
nice.
So I think we had done a few classic Deep Purple live tours, 2018, 2017, New Zealand, Australia, and some U.S. run, and so that was a blast. And yeah, but in the studio, man, he's just a phenomenon. You can't touch the guy.
Oh, so nice. Cool. Well, I have
he
one.
He couldn't sing out of tune if he tried. And the trick with him as a producer, from my aspect, is I would just try to protect the melody and keep him on point and not go to the top of the mountain too soon.
Yeah.
Or feel like he needs to show off too much on every song. Kind of less is more, and show a little more restraint, like a Paul Rogers. But again, he would do things and you go, fuck, I've never heard anybody do that. We can't not have that.
Yeah.
Well, I have one last question for you, and then we'll leave you alone for the night. Ask this question a lot to our guests, but the internet has changed so much within rock and roll. It's in social media, it's taken the mystery out of rock and roll, the mystique of it all. And you have worked with artists that had that mystery and mystique throughout the years, and it just kind of seems like the social media thing, internet thing, has kind of taken the cat out of the bag when it comes to mystique and mystery. For you, the artist and maybe even the rock and roll fan, what do you prefer in your rock and roll? Do you like the mystery and the mystique of rock and roll, or do you like this accessibility that we have with artists now?
You know, it's maybe a little bit of both. I prefer more of the mystery and mystique, definitely. You know, I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I don't need to see a bunch of interviews with Randy Rhoads. I mean, I would watch all of them because I saw him live and he was my hero. But I think just seeing somebody live and remembering what you saw and listening to the recordings is so powerful. And, I mean, sitting around hearing all these players noodling on, and I do it too, on social media, I don't know. It's I'm kind of torn on that. I know from myself as an artist, I find even having a cell phone is distracting. Looking at the internet is distracting. Seeing what everybody's doing all the time and clicking on stuff, it annoys the brain. It's kind of like, to me, it promotes, if you have a little bit of ADD going on, it like enhances that. Because you're just clicking on stuff, clicking, not even watching something to the end. You know, I always go back and listen to vinyl. I'll put on the whole record and listen to it straight through. If I had an iPod or some sort of, iTunes in front of me on my phone, you might listen to, 30 seconds of a song, go to the next song, who knows?
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I still like to do things old school. Go to concerts.
Me too.
Vinyl.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's cool to see old interviews and stuff that you didn't see, but too much is too much. You know? I don't know if I need to see, like, Paul Gilbert sitting in a room teaching somebody the blues in a master class and on YouTube, and I don't know.
I get it.
It was cool, some of these guys did their learning videos back in the day. I mean, I bought all of them. I was like, okay, I got to learn this shit. But, it's interesting. It's a different world we're living in. And I guess the good news is a kid could become famous. That's probably good and bad. Without ever really doing anything but playing, guitar for 60 seconds and showing off his ability.
Absolutely.
So...
Oh, very good. Well, we've ran out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that you would like to plug or promote that we didn't cover tonight?
I would just tell people to support recorded music, man, whether it be mine or anybody's. Keep listening. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So nothing specific.
Oh, very good. Well, this is how things are going to work out. We have about 3 weeks worth of material that we have to release before yours, but we're looking at about 3 weeks. And when Jeff, the editing wizard over here, gets it all cleaned up, I'll send you the link to this episode. Sound good?
Okay, that sounds great.
Jeff, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the correspondence. Thank you for the interview.
All right, Eric. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Have a great night.
You too. I'll talk to you in about 3 weeks.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
goodbyes. Move to the sunshine. Fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. They roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.